finally sorted it out.
Yeah, I think I'm doing the will call.
So
Sorry.
here's a flag. That's great. Well, I hate to call the meeting to order with three people. I know we're meeting, I think I'm just gonna wait a few minutes. If that's okay with folks. Otherwise, you'll have to repeat everything. Yeah.
Let's just wait.
People are driving
Sweet
slow.
Sally.
So when you're ready to start, I mean, this is already live on YouTube,
I see that.
but if you just click this record button, just,
That's it.
yep, just click it and I'll start recording.
And Hannah, when you're touching this, are you saying I'm supposed to touch that too, or just the recording?
Just hit record.
That button there.
Yep. Yep, so I'll say record,
There you go. Hello.
record, the cloud.
You must be Rachel.
Hi, Rachel.
I'm John Floyer.
Very nice to meet you, John.
I'm Catherine.
Hello, Catherine. Nice to meet you again. Nice to meet you again.
Okay.
Nice to see you.
Hi,
again.
Rachel. I'm Linda Garrett. Nice to meet you.
So that chair's free and we're waiting for Sally and Henry, just a few minutes.
Oh, yes. She's welcome to sit here. This is not.
Either way,
Yeah.
that's a more comfortable chair.
Yeah, but there you go. I think that's.
Hmm. I'm just gonna call Sally. I don't know Sally. He's usually strolls in right on time.
outside.
I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It'd be nice to have a little snow on the ground, make it look like.
Snow dust.
Make it look like Washington DC.
That's right. If it's gonna be this cold.
Well,
then
we're
it'll look
fortunate.
pretty too.
I found out today that the son of my boss, his house in Pacific Palisades is gone.
Oh,
No.
Fire burned in the fire. Oh, gosh.
one of my sons is in Culver City
Yeah,
and that's right next to it. It's just
Oh, they're
thick smoke there.
yeah.
He's-
But like,
Has his bags packed ready to
Yeah, right.
evacuate.
Oh, gee.
you know, and they have like 4 kids, so it's like, well,
And they were seeing thousands of structures.
yeah, yeah. It was a big house, you know, gone.
Home insurance is going to be. Very lucky.
Sally, are you coming?
You'll pass the farm.
Oh, okay. I think,
Houses here, there was a trumper there.
oh, I guess, I'm glad I called.
And
So
then,
it's not coming.
Okay,
Lane was there. And then you're next.
next.
You can see past a pond, there's
Yes,
a pond and then a down below cove.
there's the house where she had done a lot of renos, recently, that White House, but then it slopes down to the,
That's my house.
oh, that's
Cause
right.
we
Oh,
did
you were
massive
there.
renovation
Okay.
in
Yeah, no,
2018.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
2018.
that was so interesting.
That was the
to
year I
me.
took it over, yeah.
Yeah, we did walk by, so we have probably talked to you because we walk on it, yeah.
Yes, and then you look down, there's no cape,
Yeah,
and we got it, yeah.
yeah, you made it much more symmetric.
I did make it more symmetric because there was one dormer, for some reason, somebody put on.
I know,
And
You know, if Henry
I
is.
put on the second.
and this is the
Open
difference.
Well, it's actually not, it's not a perfect symmetry, because it had to do with something, my brother was the contractor, something weird on this one.
Yeah.
So he said, the size, he said, I don't, nobody hardly noticed. The second dormer. But no.
Was there-
I was-
Henry, it's on, it's 5,
Yes, and that was.
5:10, and we're wondering,
I mean,
we're expecting.
yeah, I don't
Because there was no heat on the second floor.
Hope it's still coming.
And, the insulation.
Photographer, you know, all those nice
Whatever, we're
friends,
gonna proceed today with here.
I think they have been the partner,
They have done
and
some-
Henry was the gold.
It was a big.
So he's just,
Well, I live
So they're
right
both
down
under
under end of the
shade.
road.
And I've never been down there.
People never get on that.
Why, but
Okay, you're being recorded. Thank you, Hannah. I'm calling the meeting to order at 5:05. Sally is on her way. Henry can't be reached, but I left him a message.
And we have a quorum though, because.
We have quorum, so we're fine. So, like you've all met our prospective member, who is only prospective because we have to wait for a select board meeting. I have no doubt you're appointed. So after we get through the first housekeeping details, we'll have you, Rachel will have you tell us a little about yourself and you can ask about us. So, any adjustments to the agenda? None, okay. Review and approval of prior meeting minutes. I have one trivial editorial correction.
Are you kidding me?
You didn't, I didn't, in the notes I sent you, I failed to take out a comma, which changes the meaning of the sentence. So on page one,
I didn't bring them with me.
oh, well,
So,
I can give you mine.
yeah, okay.
Page one, old business, item A. This is the update where we're talking about needing to get an easement to unlandlock the forest preserve. And there's a sentence that reads, the select board approved, comma, obtaining a survey of the easement. That comma should have gone because what they approved, talk about baby steps at a time. They approved getting a survey. They have not approved giving an easement. They're gonna do that later. So, my apologies.
If you just give me what you have so I can see and
Uh-huh.
live it.
Yeah, we need the
Yep.
survey because the easement would have to be voted on.
Okay.
Yeah, and actually they cannot.
They cannot, yeah.
So just
Granted.
remove, I will amend it. So
Just take out
just
that-
remove that. It looks like a
Remove that comma.
semicolon, but it's a comma, I guess, right? Okay.
And in fact, they can't approve the easement. That'll have to be town meeting. So
Okay,
that's,
so I will amend that.
but
Yeah.
I'm the one who left the comment in, so I
That's
apologize.
okay.
Okay. Any other corrections to the minutes? Do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve the minutes as amended.
Second, John. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We are on to introduce prospective new commissioner, Rachel Snow. So, welcome and please tell us about yourself. A little.
Hello, yes. Well, I'm native. I was born here. And then I left grew up and went to Guilford Butler and then I left, but still when I was fairly young and, came back intermittently to visit family, but didn't move back here until I retired, till I took over my father's house, on his passing on London Beach Road in 2018. So the same time, Sandra, I think you mentioned renovating your place. And then I was here for 2 years in COVID and then moved back here entirely when I retired in the spring of 2023. And I was a lifelong academic. I worked in global public health in many different countries, mostly in women's health. And then in the last 10 years, I worked for the UN. I ran a team which was called Population Development Unit at UN Population Fund. And I did so because I had some expertise in both demography and dealing with, population data, as well as improving public health. So my general experience with executive function is pretty high. I've raised money and managed money, large budgets, and at the UN we had offices in 135 countries. And we were running the census, running the civil registration system, giving advice. And what do I know about conservation? Well, probably not enough. So I hope to learn more. I have a very strong, at the UN in particular, I've written quite a bit on climate change, and so I'm up to date on, we did something even last spring as I was working as a consultant, so I'm fairly up to date with some of the latest kind of data on what's happening and what the projections look like on the climate. So of course, and being someone like many of you who live in a coastal community, of course, it's of great interest to me. And I think that's probably why I was keen when you expressed, anyway, reached out and said possibly you might wanna join. So I'm delighted to be here. I don't yet know how I will contribute to your work, but I'm open-minded and yes, well-organized in general. And anyway, I've done a lot of research and needs assessment, strategic planning. That's kind of a, that kind of constellation of executive functions I am pretty familiar with. So I assume with time we'll figure out how I can make contribution to your team. So thank you so much for including me.
Well, thank you for coming.
We're delighted.
So,
Yes.
we spoke some yesterday. I'm interested in conservation, but I joined just because of that. Not that I had any background in doing conservation work. I'm a lawyer. My entire career was at the US Department of Health and Human Services, doing their entire array of programs because I was in, and then for many years led the legislation division, which is working with
Great.
Congress
Yeah.
and preparing the administration's legislative proposals and trying to prevent idiocies from getting enacted and things like that. One thing that has proved useful is that I do a lot of writing. I did a lot of writing. I've written a lot of the laws that run through people's lives. And it's come in handy, it turns out, in this role. And I just care very much about somehow maintaining a survivable planet, saving as much of the life, the non-human life on it as possible. So it's felt like a good niche for me. So,
No, you wanna,
Oh, so I'm Canadian by birth. I grew up in Montreal, but I've been in the United States for quite some time. My last position was at the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, New Jersey, which is where Albert Einstein was for a number of years. So I was in academia for a long time. I worked in the School of Social Science, and I worked very closely, not in conservation, but with a gentleman who focused on war, whether it's just or not just. A really wonderful person named Michael Walzer. And then upon retiring, my husband and I moved here, and so we've been here for 9 years, and we love it. And we're not moving, we're never leaving. We just love Maine. And that's
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Well, I'm John Poirier. I grew up in Waterville, actually, and lived there, and I had my dental practice there, and I spent my entire life there until 5 years ago, except when I was, away at school. And I have always, been interested in conservation, but I really don't have the expertise that some people on this, do, and I don't have the organizational skills that you probably do. I always had people that did that for me, and I'm basically here because, Sally Merchant really twisted my arm.
she can do that.
But it's this wonderful community that I feel very lucky to be a part of for this past 5 years. So, and if I can do something, I will.
Okay, so if you word about your project, the water sampling thing?
Well, it's really not my project. I am just a gopher helper. We are sampling, various freshwater inlets to, to the, to the bay here. And once a month during, starting from probably May through September. And my role there was just basically to climb down the bank, take the water samples and use the electronics to get, the pH and, the salinity and such.
Oh,
Well,
have we been paying any attention to whether
Uh,
anyone's in the waiting
I
room?
don't- It says Lenovo Vantage.
You know, press the X.
Oh, okay.
You just made me think, because Theo might have been joining, and she's the one heading the water quality monitor.
Catherine, I'm pressing it and it's, oh, maybe
Is it
cancel.
inactive?
Oh, it's a, no, I pressed
That's
cancel.
it, that's it.
Okay,
It might be she may not be joining.
I don't see anybody. Okay,
Okay, I was just gonna feel terribly guilty if we didn't even check. No,
I don't.
okay,
but, it's, what I hope is that we can begin to see some of the results, of those projects, but I've never seen any of the actual, results, whether things are improving or getting worse. And I'm not sure if Theo has either, because we just send them
I-
on.
I have a little bit more on that down the agenda.
Okay.
Not much, but so,
But that's.
Nice to meet you.
It was nice to meet you.
And you live down McBride?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, my brother Steve Snow and Luke Snow.
Yes.
They're off to the
They're
left.
right, Luke's right on the corner.
Right, yeah.
And Steve is right down there too. Yeah, they're nice to have them in the neighborhood.
something more like a family
But,
reunion.
yeah, I figured there are just so many squirrels, it seems.
Well, it's actually, it's one of the oldest names in town. Now, wasn't it founded by a Snow?
Yeah, it's a guy named Elijah Snow.
Yeah, yeah, that's
A long
right.
time ago.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm reading the Lobster Coast now and
Yeah.
that name shows up,
Yeah.
Oh,
not long
for
after
sure.
that was here.
So I'm Catherine Lairn, not Lermy, not Lermy. And I live on the gig side of the town on Dublin Road. I'm from France originally, but I've lived here for 8 years. And I'm interested, same thing in conservation. I don't have any particular knowledge about it,
Right.
but we learn as we go. And depending on the projects that present themselves. So we also have obviously some requirement on things we are expected to do. But a few of us have been very involved in town acquisition of land, and so forth. And it's a project that's gonna extend for at least another year and a half before we can get the money that we said we would be granted. There are hoops to go through, and that's where Sandra is so good, because it takes a lot of writing and stuff, so we've been working on that. And, my long-term vision is obviously to have trails on it, and, I've walked the place many times, and it's very enjoyable. But since we managed to keep the ATVs off, the trails actually have grown, and like the grass has grown in some areas and things, and there were damages in various spots because of storms that we had, like last January, so violent. But it's there, and it's still beautiful, and so I'm happy that they're working on this. And then there is also a project that you may want to talk about, because the two of you are more into it.
Oh, the working group.
Yes, the working group, and also the presentations, like on the dark sky, like we had. Okay,
Right.
so.
Thank
Well,
you.
we've been doing an introductory go round.
Ah, everybody knows me.
Including Rachel.
Including Rachel.
But as Catherine mentioned, we have this working group with representatives from all the county conservation commissions, which at the moment are only the 6 along the coastline. And they don't include the city of Rockland, which has gone its own way. I mean, and it's bigger than any of us and whatever. So, Sally and I are on that group and we meet quarterly. The idea is that we get together, we tell each other what our individual conservation commissions are doing, and then we report back to our individual conservation commissions what everybody else is doing. And it's really building this wonderful synergy of collaboration, like we just put on this dark sky program, which is very well received. And the plan is that there will be a series of dark sky programs, including a trek after dark on Mount Batty, or somebody suggested another hill possibly with a very knowledgeable person to tell people what they're seeing up there. And we also, growing out of that, we got invited to co-sponsor with Owl's Head Community Conservation Commission, a program in the school that serves both of our town's primary grades. And that's on the agenda a bit further down too. And what was the other thing?
Oh, and we do, of course, twice a year, the garbage pickup. That's not something I'm particularly interested in.
Yes, and we're trying to expand that actually.
Mm.
We're trying to think of ways to encourage like neighborhood teams to tackle just their neighborhood.
Mhm.
Bring it all to one collection point, and Leslie Spear, who's not here tonight, they're on their way to Georgia, has a truck. So,
Which is strange for a rural town like South Thompson. The majority of us should own a pickup truck.
yeah, well, we probably could recruit some other people who had, if we ever expanded to the point that 2 trucks would be good. We'll see. Anyway,
But
that's us.
neighborhoods like Spruce said, I assume are not very dirty. It's mostly the. It's mostly.
Waterman's Beach Road.
What
The
is
road to the dump is the,
Oh,
Yeah,
God.
and Dublin Road is a disaster.
Is it?
Oh, people throw things all the time, like
understand.
bottles, McDonald's. So I don't know if it's things that fly off trucks when they're on their way to the dump, it could be that as
Possibly
well.
with a little assistance fly off truck.
It's,
Right.
on Island Road, as we said, it's, you, every time we do the cleanup, you're gonna have this 100-yard section where there are gonna be a dozen nip bottles.
Yeah.
And on the other side of the road, there'll be, a bunch of, light, Bud Light beer cans, all in the same spot. They had some assistance coming up.
Yeah,
there used to be some, cause I used to be one of them, some older women who walked on Island Road and kept it picked up because we walked every day, so we always had a little bag, picked up whatever we found. And my daughter Elizabeth picks up a lot of stuff there on the flat between the hill after you leave the village and Godfrey's Hill. Because she notices all that, and we used to use our property there for pasturage, and we worried about things blowing in there that the animals might get into and suffer from. But there are areas all over. Oh, Patty Birch picks up all the time, that lives in Spruce Head on the corner of the road to the
we
village.
need to start taking names.
Actually, she lives on the St. George side of the road there, on the road that goes to the post office, which is in St. George. Yeah.
Yeah, whoever drew the town lines, it's just bizarre.
Well, I don't think the towns, the people lived that way when the town lines were actually drawn. I mean, there wasn't necessarily all these houses on each side.
When one side of the causeway's in one town and the other side, I mean, it's just crazy. But we're not gonna change that. But yes, we do start thinking about people that you could talk to about being neighborhood team leaders for pickup. So that yes, we always end up being the only folks that clean up the mess on Buttermilk, but other places needed to. Anyway. On to other stuff. Next thing on the agenda is update on the forest preserve. And I think it's already in the minutes last time that we're working on getting.
Well,
It said, we met with the surveyor, they said we were going to, and we now have. And he's presumably going to take it on. We told him, that it's, not urgent, but we do need it before we can move on to the next step. So we probably need to make sure that he didn't relax too much about where it goes on his schedule. And also, what we have to have for the Land for Maine's Future grant is a meets and bound, did I say that right? Meets and bound legal description,
yeah.
From this corner, yada, yada, all that.
But you
And
sent that
he
to
had
me,
not
right?
provided it, but now he has.
Okay, good. Yeah,
Hey, well, you should have gotten a copy, did you not?
I could have. It's probably filed in the folder somewhere.
I may be the one who should have been forwarding it, but
I haven't seen it.
okay, it must be, yeah, I must owe you that. But that's great. He was happy to provide that, but he said he had tried, but he was not in a position to provide the other thing that we have to have, which is called a GIS shape
Oh,
file.
yes, that's where I remember.
And yes,
GIS what?
Well, I work in GIS, but I thought you.
No, I don't work in GIS,
Okay.
but we send him to,
what
Knox
happened
County.
is he didn't know that
Oh,
that Knox County has this wonderful woman who can make any map known to man or woman. And her services are available for free to any entity of town government, which we are. So he didn't know that. I put them in touch with each other and I'm sure they've been following up.
What is the shape file for those of us who are?
It's a
Yes.
requirement
Yeah, but
from Land for
what
Maine's
is it?
Future. Yeah,
One of you who
But
knows,
what
please
is it?
explain. I can't explain.
well, it's just a format of file that will give the mapping exactly of the property, so, but they need it it's a special file format.
And it's linked into GPS.
it's a
Yeah.
it's built off the GPS.
Right.
Yeah,
Basically measures, and then there are questions about creating shed files. Do you just kind of take a certain small number and then,
yeah,
make these awkward lines, or to what extent do you kind of permeate and make it a more smooth file? There's different games you can play with shape files, but if you've got somebody in Knox County who's doing this is
yeah, that's
fabulous.
Letitia's.
That's great.
So you end up with a more accurate depiction of the,
It's basically based on satellite imagery. It's like you're using GPS. Think of it, you're taking a picture from space and you're drawing the shape file is the definition of the shape of the property
that makes
using
perfect sense.
GPS.
Yeah.
So it's a visual rendering that you ultimately get.
And Catherine and I learned this when we were doing the application for the Land for Maine's Future
That they
grant.
required it.
And Catherine was going crazy trying to make it herself. And somebody said, Letitia Van Buren.
Can I ask you?
And we were up against the deadline. And we showed up in her office and we said, we need this, and this map, including a shape file. And she just produced it
She was a
She
wizard,
did,
yeah.
in a day, and then we told her, well, we need to fine tune this and fine tune that, and she turned it around, it was like magic, it was like, oh, our fairy godmother has come, it was great. So, also on preserve, we got a update call contact from David Hediger, who's our LMF liaison, just saying, we're here to help, where are things? And I need to get back to him, but before I do, I want to actually have a couple things to tell him that I'm working on. One is, we also need to reach out to the guy, Rex Turner, who's in Parks and Recreation and will be our state sponsor. I want us three to meet with him by Zoom or whatever and find out what it is we're gonna need to do to produce the agreement that we'll have to make with him. The way Land for Maine's Future works is one way or another, you have to have an agreement to put this land they're paying for you in conservation. And we're gonna be doing that via an agreement with Parks and Recreation. But we need to find out exactly what he's gonna insist on and be working on that. I figure part of it will be having a plan for management of the land, which is another thing we need to start on. Hold that thought. And another thing I think we need to work on is right now, we're not in the town budget. We're just sort of off to the side somewhere. Except for the $20,000 they put in a reserve fund for us. And the money I've tracked down, the donations, which is almost $6,000 and will be more. I've been holding off making a donation until I thought I was sure that we would be free to use the money as we needed
So we
to.
found the money?
We found the donated money,
Yeah.
yeah. I've been doing a back and forth with Hannah on, and where is it on the books? And she sent me this strange little message, which said, here's the money I found, and she has, I brought it somewhere. Maybe I didn't, darn. Yeah. Okay. And it's off of a, Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. But there are no headings, so I'm not sure. So there's two columns. And the land donation amount says 48,1938. But then you add up the total donations and it's 55,969.38, which is a $1,500 difference. I have no idea what's going on, so I'm asking her. But I think they just have to correct that number. I'm not gonna try and play around and figure out where they went off the rails. Then there's a line that says Conservation Commission, and I don't have headings for these columns, just two columns. $4.20 in one and $61.19 in the next column. And my guess is this might be the recycling money that Theo's been donating every time she turns in cans and bottles and gets a bit of money. But I'm asking, is that what that is? And where is all of this on the books? I've asked to be on the select board agenda for next Tuesday's meeting, both to get Rachel officially appointed, and to discuss funding and next steps. One of those next steps, I would like to be moving forward on actually contracting with a forester, hopefully Maren, if she's still interested.
Well, last time I contacted her, she was like, of course, she's not gonna turn down a client, but, I think same thing. She needs the survey to be completed, which it is for her purpose, like the easement shouldn't, impair her work.
I don't think the easement, that shouldn't affect her.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The
Yeah.
easement doesn't matter.
Okay.
But again, there is a whole process because for a fee, that she explained, it's per acre and things like that. There are grants available, which are 50% matching grant. So we need to keep in sequence all the expenses we have looking forward. And to me, we need a clear budget for the whole process, which we had worked before. And then the issue of the budget is like the town already granted $20,000. And
Which they hope never to have to spend.
yes, but at the same time, it's there. And when we get the $65,000 back from LMF, that will be a nice return. And with things going up the way they are, I think you're stirring a kind of worms here. Like,
I'm confused.
well, we usually go for like what, $500 or $1,000, which cover copy costs and,
But that's separate, and that's what I'm saying. I want to talk to the select board about having a line item.
but until we
Right.
have that preserve open and functional.
That's gonna be a couple years.
I know, but it's like, we have donations, we need to keep asking for donation and need to keep writing grants to pay for what we have to pay for.
Well, next step that we can do now on the list of due diligence before we get the grant money, I think, is having the forester help us.
Well, and I'm curious why you changed your tune, like last year you were saying, oh, that's gonna come at the last.
No, not the plan. The
The,
things that have to be, you have to have the finish line in sight to do the environmental hazard
Yes.
assessment and to do the appraisal,
Yeah,
but not the forester's assessment and helping us plan what we would do with the land. I don't see that is delayed.
Okay, whatever. I mean, I'm pretty certain that, in the past years, I had said, we could work with the forester to design the 10-year plan, and we're saying, well, we don't need to do that until we're finished with the application, so.
No. I said it's not on the due diligence list, but I think we will find out that it's something that will, something like that will be needed for the agreement with Parks and Recreation, and we need to have that conversation
Well,
with
why
them.
don't we have the conversation first?
Well-
To find out what's needed until, before we consult with the forester. I mean, she has come and she has talked to us. We're happy to forward the information that we got from her. Did you ever see that information? No, so it's a document where she had written a proposal of what her services would entail, in terms of mapping out all the tree stands and identifying invasive species, if there are any, and how best to approach them, containment or eradication, and things like that. And possibly, do obviously, what do you call, the maps with the elevation lines and so forth, and, to propose possible sites for trails so that they would be least disruptive to ecosystems and so forth. So, there is another line of service where she proposed to identify all the species, but that's an extra cost, including also birds, if we wanted to know that. But that is not, that would be nice to have, but that will be, it's not necessary to do upfront. And, at the time, obviously, we need to ask now what her rate is, because she was quoting a rate per acre. And, like everything else, things go up in price, so,
that was already, what, almost 2 years ago?
yes, so, you know, revised, and then, you know, another good question to her will be, you know, what does her schedule look like, you know, because she has many clients. So, when could she fit us in her schedule?
Right, she said what the best time of year was to do it, and I
Well,
don't
it's
remember.
obvious it's spring or fall when
Okay.
the foliage,
Okay.
you know, is not as dense, and in the winter there is snow. She can't walk around easily, and in the summer it's too thick. So, and the cycle for Project Canopy, which was one of the granting
Yeah,
possibilities, I think their proposal is due in May. You know.
so we could do that.
And she needs the survey done first.
Yeah, but the survey, we finished the survey, so, you know, now there is no obstacle
Okay.
for her doing any work.
No, she knows where, we know where the lines are now.
Okay, so, and the delay in getting this done at this stage is
Well,
it's just her schedule.
You see, okay, LMF has various hoops. So again, you know, getting the easement so that we have a clear access, you know, getting the lawyer to finish,
Title insurance.
you know, and give us, title insurance. Then we need an environmental assessment, which is gonna be about $2,500. Then we need, what do you call, an appraisal? And that could be even a few more, you know, like
That's,
up to $4,000.
that's fairly expensive.
Yes,
But that's not needed before she does.
well,
No,
so we
that's
need,
a
but we need,
financial.
okay, yes, we need to cover, make sure we can cover those costs.
Mhm.
And this, we have also a deadline, you know, which is May of 2026,
Well,
2 years from the
no, they
granting.
said 3 years when I talked to David. It was
3?
3.
No, it was 2 last time.
No, last time I talked to him, they're very flexible, they want this money to go out.
Yeah,
And as long, basically, I think, as long as they see that we're working toward the goal, that we haven't just
yes.
given up, they'll be very flexible.
Yes,
So
but
I don't- we
also,
don't
I
have
mean,
to
we
worry
don't
about
want to
that.
drag this
No, we
forever.
don't. No, we
So
don't.
we want to move along, but we need these steps done and completed for LMF to say, okay, you did everything we needed, and here's the check for $65,000 to the town, so that the town can be reimbursed for buying the lands. And the ultimate goal, I mean, is conservation, but also recreation. And for recreation purposes, we want to have some trails, and that's gonna be same thing, something demanding in terms of labor and demanding also in terms of money. And, you know, a requirement is taking care of the land, and how do you take care of the land? You need a forester expertise to tell you how you manage your land, if you have sick trees and what to cut, not to cut, and there are also other things to consider. Whether we would consider cutting selectively some trees for income purposes, you know, it's doable if we need to finance this or that, and it's not a decision we can make a recommendation, and then again, the town would have to approve that or not, you know, and
Well, I'm not sure we have to go to the town for approval to cut selected
Well,
trees, but I mean, that's
No, no,
way down the
for-
road.
We'll find out at the time.
yeah, not to
What-
cut one
what
or
I
two trees, but like I'm saying, doing not a clear cutting either, because that's not a good practice. But cutting enough trees that you could, you know, sell them, that's what she was saying, and get an income from the wood that then can allow you to.
Well, I think
something
there
else.
we have to consider the condition on which we bought the land and whether using it for income like that was ever contemplated.
Well, it's not just income, it's also the health of the
Health,
forest.
no, the health of the trees, that's different.
Yeah.
But when you get into, we're doing it now for income, even if it's to support the preserve, I think we're treading pretty close to what we're not supposed to do.
Well, it all depends.
So,
I think, it seems to me, what we should do is write down all of these items and this, with notes on by when they should, where they fall following each other, what kind of order and what kind of timeline we're talking about. Talking about it is one thing, but I have to look at things. I'm very visual. I need a list that says
Well,
it.
we can do that.
And what is in process now? What is, you listed
Just,
4 or 5
just the survey
We're working
of
surveys
the,
done?
on title
no, on the
insurance.
easement. We have to survey the path across through
My
townland.
mother's in the ER and I have to take this, I'll be back in 2 seconds.
So the lawyer told us that this property we bought that adjoins town land, if we were insuring the whole thing, we wouldn't be getting into this. But we are not insuring the town land. We're just getting title insurance on the 130 acres we just bought. And looked at separately, it's landlocked.
Mhm.
It's a landlocked piece that the town might even try to sell, although you can't sell a
Right, so we
landlocked
had
piece
talked about
anymore.
getting an easement.
So the lawyer said you will never get title insurance unless that land has a right of access to Route 73. And that's what we are surveying. And that's what the select board has said,
Yeah,
you have permission to survey and then we'll think about giving the easement. So they have to do it, but it's like, God
An
forbid they
easement
should
needs
make
to
any
be
decision before
recorded
they must.
Okay,
with the title for the land, you know, like the lawyer is going to combine all the plots we purchased and make it one big lot. And, you know, in that title, we need to include the easement.
and to get the easement, we need to have a survey of the easement.
It needs
Yeah.
to be defined legally.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
so forth.
And then
Yeah,
ultimately, agreeing to grant the easement will have to be by town meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So there are those steps. Doesn't have to be, it
no,
doesn't have to be in
Yeah,
June, it could be a
but-
special meeting.
okay, if we
Yeah.
do a special meeting, it can be done before June, obviously,
Yeah.
but at this point, with the holdup is the surveyor. He said he would do it, but we're not sure as to when he can do it, and, you know, so we're waiting for him to complete that. Once he has completed that, we can go back to the lawyer, get the title, get title insurance, and then on to the next.
No, no,
needs to
once
be
he's
all-
completed that
Yeah,
and town meeting has
Yes.
approved, then we can go to the lawyer and say,
yeah,
it officially has an easement. And now we need to go to a title insurance company and get the title insurance. And then after we've done that, and after we've done the environmental hazards assessment and cleaned up anything they find, which we don't think they will find, but we could be wrong. We never saw this easement problem coming. Anyway, once that's resolved, then we could seek an appraisal, because until we're sure there's no environmental hazards, and until we have the easement unlandlocking that property, we probably couldn't get title insurance at all, but it would certainly, we couldn't get title insurance without the easement. And the appraiser is going to want to know about the environmental hazards and the easement, because those will affect the value of the land. So those are steps that have to,
but I would
There's an
assume
order
can
they
make
have to come in.
assumptions that we will get the easement and,
Yeah.
you know, that
in the fullness of time, yes.
yes, and especially if we have a special town meeting and, you know, 5 people happen to come, that's not gonna be.
Yeah, well, that's how it's done in Maine.
Well, that's how it will be done, and we will move on to this, but
Right.
Yeah.
I think that everything that we're saying needs to be on a list that we
It
can all
was-
have a copy of
Okay,
and
we
look
can do
at
that.
instead of,
We can do that.
It has been done before, I'm pretty sure if we go back to our notes, we already made that
Well,
list.
or something
Yeah,
that has most of it
but
in.
my point here is I would like us to have the meeting with our
With Red
sponsor
Turner, yes.
agency.
And
And
find
not,
out what he wants.
yes, what he wants, and then, you know, we can get on moving, or maybe there is something else that's needed that's more urgent than the forester plan, so just so that we have
Okay,
the
all
ducks
right,
in
but
order.
what I'm thinking is the select board meets very rarely. And only we can't take some of these steps until they bless it. We can't hire a forester until they say it's okay. So what I was thinking of proposing to the select board next week is, if it turns out that hiring the forester is the next thing we need to do, we know we need to do it eventually, but if it's the next thing, could we get your blessing now to go ahead? At that point, they're gonna want to know,
How much?
what will it cost?
Yeah.
And so if we could find out from Maren, what would it cost?
Well, we have the estimate she gave us, you know.
But we
it
have to update it.
Yeah, but it's already above the 2,500, which is their cutoff, so,
Who's cut off? I'm sorry.
I think, they had mentioned, like, if it's less than $2,500 for expenses, we can proceed, you know, like, they don't wanna be bothered with every little spending we have to do,
Oh,
yeah.
well, I better double check that.
Mm.
But if that's the case, but it's not gonna be less than.
Yeah, it's
2,500.
gonna.
So we're going to
25, yeah.
We're going to need it done sometime. It is probably something we can get on with.
They're meeting twice a month, so it's like.
Well, whatever.
Yeah,
But
they meet
if
every.
by the next meeting, not the one coming next week, but the week, the one following that, which is probably 2 weeks later, if we could know.
Hmm.
You know, what that would be, and could we get them to vote that we can go ahead when we're ready? Then that would be,
Well, that's fine, putting it
Oh,
when
right.
we're ready, yeah, that's the when we're
that's
ready.
exactly. And in the meantime, we will try and have a meeting with Rex Turner and get
Yeah.
a sense of what he wants. Because there has to be an agreement, and I need to read up again on the, whatever details are available in the workbook.
So assuming we meet via Zoom, because he's in Augusta or
Oh,
somewhere.
yeah, please.
And so we'll have to do the meeting here, you don't assume you have Zoom on your computer.
Well, he probably has Zoom.
Okay,
Could
so
probably
yeah, you could
host
set it up, yeah,
I
all right.
mean, he's got a big government office, we're just
Yeah,
a bunch of
yeah.
volunteers.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, you probably could host the Zoom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so we will see
All
if
right,
that
I
can
would
be
set it
set up,
yeah.
and then we will know more about that
Yes.
aspect of it.
I think that's the right way to do it.
Okay, that's fine. Ultimately, I'd like us to have estimates about what the expensive ones are gonna cost. You know, we may get grants, but we'll still need to match them probably. So then we could send out another letter to the town residents asking for donations, saying, we're gonna need, you know, to get this, keep this project moving, we will need to raise money to do these things.
I would like us to consider putting that letter in the newspaper. Because many people are not on the town distribution list. And, you know, people who are not on the distribution list, chances are still read the newspaper or something akin to it. So, doing an appeal, putting an appeal for donations through one of, you know, the paper.
We could do both.
Yeah, yes, yes, yeah, as many, you know, just like when we want to
It feels
publish.
a little funny
Well,
to,
no, explain, even, actually, you know, I would be happy to get donations from other towns, like, if people, if people.
Probably not going to, but.
ATV riders perhaps.
No, but that's the key, if you mention protecting the land and opening trails and, you know, and so forth,
You're
people would be
gonna-
interested in
You're
that.
gonna reach some people, yes.
Yes.
Just with because.
Well,
of
you
what-
will
of
reach
what you're
some
doing.
residents who don't read other stuff, yeah, come on. We can go for that, do both, I mean, don't just put it in the paper.
No, but,
Right, okay. So I think that's sort of the list of stuff on preserve. All right, on water quality monitoring, all I have to report is that I have just today sent a list to Theo of the questions that I'd like her report to answer, which will include what John wants to know, and so do I, is when and where are the DEP results available? And I want to know, are they broken down by town? Are we gonna know what the Gig River is like, or are they gonna do some consolidated report for this chunk of the state? I
Yeah.
don't know.
Good question.
Yeah, I mean, all the testing we have done has been on the Gig River. So,
Right, and there's a parallel team doing it on the St. George River. And it would be nice to know river by river, but I don't know if,
I would assume it would be tributary by tributary. I mean,
I would
broken
think so.
down that,
Yeah.
that finally, say, okay, this is where this tributary
that would be nice,
This-
I hope so.
comes into the
Yeah.
marsh, where that drains and it's trending in the wrong direction
Right,
but we don't have any of that data.
right. And, I think it's still in my printer at home, the list of questions. So,
Is,
and I've asked her also to talk a bit about predecessor volunteer organization, which, and what's been, she apparently has been doing it with the exception of 2023 when she was so ill, every year. And I don't know,
Oh, it goes back quite a ways.
it goes back,
I remember
yeah,
being in a meeting here when Dorothy Merriweather was talking about it. And that was quite a while ago, quite a few
but
years ago.
Theo has not lived in town for more than 10 years, so I'm pretty
but
sure.
I think, no,
No,
she
not
was
more than, no, I'm
20, something, 2017,
Probably the same.
earlier than me.
all the 10 years go by.
A bit, maybe 10 years.
Is Theo, in town or is she, are they
I
out
don't
in
know.
Florida? Don't know?
I-
Hmm?
No, she's somewhere in New England where there is a grandchild.
Oh, yeah, that's Rhode Island, I think.
A known phenomenon.
Yeah. Can't compete with grandchildren.
No. End of discussion, exactly. She said that periodically she will deign to break away from that and discuss things with us. So I don't know. I mean, she was gonna be there over Christmas and probably New Year's, and I don't know if she's back yet. But I know when Conservation Commission was reconstituted, and I volunteered because I thought it was a really important thing to do. And she had talked to me about the water quality monitoring. And I had thought that it was gonna come under the umbrella of the Conservation Commission. And she said, no, I wanna keep it separate, and she has until now. And I'm not clear why. I mean, when she came to us, she said, we have to have some kind of government sponsor, and you can be it.
Hmm.
But I don't know why that wasn't something she needed before, so I'm curious, and I'm hoping she can fill that in a bit, but we'll see. But I'd really like to know what DEP tests for and what results they have found, and are the results broken down in such a way that they're helpful to us specifically, as distinguished from, the great spread of the whole mid-coast or whatever. So hopefully we can get some of those answers. And then a little bit of that will go into our 1 page of annual report that can fit in the town report.
Do we
Yes.
know if Wes is still doing the,
Jack stuff?
Yes,
Yes.
he's still doing shark stuff.
So the same thing, that would be another topic where if we could have a summary of, you know, how it relates to the town, you know, like the warming of the waters, the increased variations of the tides, you know. Again, it can bring home some concepts about climate change
Well,
to people who are, you know, very aware of the necessity to maintain oceans, you
I
know,
think
for their
it's-
livelihood.
I think his tide, I think his shark research is done in Florida. I don't think does he do that? up
No,
here?
no,
it's in
yeah,
Florida,
no,
but he's
no.
also,
Or
Yeah,
it's
well,
and I don't think everybody
Tortuga.
caught that. He is no longer an associate member of the Conservation Commission.
But what he does is still important and related to topics of interest to us, so.
Well, we get one page in the town's annual report,
Okay,
and we can easily fill it with what we've been doing.
yes, but I'd like us to keep in mind that it might be a very good presentation that we can ask him to do at some
Oh,
point.
well, sure.
Mm.
Sure. Okay, update on co-sponsoring. And the idea of hosting a Shark Talk leads to the budget planning. The only thing to say in the update on co-sponsoring planetarium program is that when I looked at the budget and when we finally sorted out how much we needed to contribute to the dark sky program, which came down to a modest $50 because the Dark Sky Committee said that it would be nice if we would give a $300 thank you gift to the Camden Library for letting us do all of that at no charge. I asked if we should give an honorarium to Jacob Garrettson. And basically what John said is, he's really rolling in money. You do know who he's married to.
I don't.
Tess Garrettson, who
That's
writes
Garrison, the writer.
very,
Oh,
yeah, those mystery series that brings in millions. So an honorarium, downright silly. Never mind. So we have agreed that we will happily give $50 to this cause. And if you remember when at the last meeting, Lauren Schwartzbaugh, the chair of Owl's-Head, had invited us to co-sponsor the planetarium program at Ash Point School, and we'd said, well, we will to the extent of funds available in our budget after we've met commitments we've already made. So I looked at our budget and at money that is not tied down for purposes. That's one reason I was hoping Henry would come, because one of the things money's tied down for is cleanup day supplies.
Did you
We have-
submit something?
Have we ever paid for the signs and things
Well,
we
I-
had made?
That's what I was gonna ask, if there's anything left over to pay. But the only way we can come up with more than $100 for our share of the planetarium program is to release some of the money that is in the budget for other things. So that I hate the way the budget is. I wish they'd give us our little chunk of money and say,
Okay.
do with it whatever you need. But no,
What would our share be of that program for the school?
I think if we paid a full half of it, it would be
I thought it was about $325 maybe.
$325,
Yeah,
something
something
like
like
that. So we
That's not
can't,
much.
we can't, well, no, it isn't, but we don't have it.
But
we have such a
okay,
tiny
so we
budget.
can, okay. I'm
So
happy to-
what we have in the budget is, we've got 75 for speaker fees and $75 for educational programs. And
We haven't had any speakers, but that's still only $50.
very good, yes, of which 50 has gone. to Camden Library.
We're poor.
We are very poor, and that's one thing. So then there's all this money tied up for supplies, $350 for supplies. So what I want to say to the select board is, we just need to release that money to spend for something we need to do. And coming up next year, we need more money in our education budget, because here we are, it's January, and we've blown the whole thing.
When do they need their answer to whether they're gonna go ahead with the program or not?
Oh, they're going ahead.
Okay.
All they need is an answer of how much would you be able to kick in.
Were there other CCs that were willing to contribute also to the plan?
No, the Ash Point School just serves South Thomaston and Ellsworth.
Yeah, but the school district that it's part of
RSU.
is the much, much bigger than.
Yeah, but we're not gonna get other conservation commissions to kick in to a program at a grammar school that doesn't have their kids. I would like next year to have enough money in the budget to reach out to the other schools and include the middle school and Camden Hills High School, maybe.
Oh,
It's a
we have,
terrific program. If you
Yeah.
have, if you think about the schools that serve kids from the towns that have conservation commissions. So you've got Camden Hills, you've got, I think our kids maybe go to
Go to
Rockland.
Oceanside.
Oceanside,
So we would
yeah.
need to, I'm very curious about this idea that Rockland is kind of separate and we're less
They have
engaged.
just
because
not,
it's-
they
it's-
have,
it's
we have
really
to, we've
Kids
invited.
around South Thomaston will then ultimately go to high school,
well, the
junior high and high school.
Well, schools are basically a separate matter from conservation commissions, although we try to work with them. But we've tried to reach out to their, to various folks in Rockland and say, wouldn't you like to come? And they say, oh, yes, and then they don't. Or they say, I'm really not the right person, and we've just not gotten to first base with them, so it's been their choice. And they're so much bigger, and they actually have a sustainability office and a Parks and Rec office and a something else, conservation kind of thing. So they're just not feeling the need or working with us.
So what's your best estimate that we can scrape, what, $150?
No, if I tell the select board, look, we don't need money for supplies, but we would like to contribute our share to this. There's $350 under supplies, and I don't think we need a penny of it.
well,
I
when,
need to check with Henry if he still needs the 50 for roadside cleanup. But then it's for grant applications and supplies and copying and other meeting supplies and supplies. No, I'm sorry, that last one is.
It's an old fashioned where you needed supplies in the past,
Oh,
right?
well, but also it's this, you get into this straitjacket of a budget. You can't just say, give us $600 and we'll spend it responsibly. They have to put it on these lines that really don't fit what we do. So anyway, at least for next year's budget, I would ask for a whole lot more for education. And right now, I would tell them, we do not want, you know, or maybe they don't care, maybe if we just spend it. No questions will be asked, I don't know, but there is money, but it's under the wrong heading.
Use the designation.
Question?
Yes, and my question was what's, because I don't know about the other committees or the budget. So is there a recommended or required process that if you want to change between budget categories, like on other grants, above a certain fraction, you need to get a approval? So is there anything written up that is?
This is South Thomaston,
I
are you
know,
serious?
No, but so there's nothing like, there must be.
No, but I think I could talk maybe to Terry because she has. Terry is now our code enforcement officer, but for a number of years. In two different stints, she basically was our
Town.
town manager,
manager. No, well, that's
Whatever the term.
our administrator.
administrator.
Whatever, the town manager is something else where you have to pay a serious salary.
Yeah, Yeah, the town administrators where you get the same work without paying the money.
Yeah, there is that. Anyway, so Hannah's now the town administrator, but she's very new. Whereas Terry has the deep background and I can ask her,
Yeah,
if we just want to do this, can we just do it? And right now I've written to Lauren and said until we free up some money in our budget, all we can give you is 100, but I'm gonna see what I can do. So that's where things stand, but there
This,
is money
this
and we don't have
program
any other sort.
will, this program will happen no matter
Yeah.
how much we give.
yeah,
I don't want us to be,
No, no,
no,
no,
they're gonna do it anyway.
right.
I would think the school district would help, but
I think it's probably the same thing, you know, she has a budget. But the
Well-
school is looking at trying to get money so that they can save their money to do something else. So, you know, just like academics are like, you're invited to go for grants to pay for your work.
Right.
And, you know, but your work would get done no matter what, and you know, so as long as we are not an impediment to this program happening, I'm fine, yeah.
Right. Well, I think what Al's Head Conservation Commission tries to do is every year do something nice for the town.
Mhm.
So another time it was a program at the school, but only for the upper grades on owls. And that's why they're now doing it from pre-K on. Because they got so much unhappy feedback from the people not included, the children and parents of children who were not included, they're never doing that again. So this is for pre-K to 5. 1 year they gave some electric vehicle charging stations to the town. I mean, they
That's
just
nice.
try and do something. And what it does is kind of raise their profile and make everybody think, you know, we like these people. And we might think about, we don't have a school to support, but what we could do that would.
Yeah, we have a school, that's the.
We have a community center.
Well,
we have a library.
yeah, so, no,
Which
but,
could offer such programs.
well, we have used that facility for a Conservation Commission education program on native versus invasive plant.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
We need to put in some charging station, electric vehicle charging station.
Well, what I've understood is that you can pay a modest price and get an electric vehicle charging station that will charge a vehicle in between 12 and 24 hours.
That's
Or you can pay serious money and get one that will charge a vehicle in under an hour. And guess what's being put in everywhere and taking up parking space?
Well, they're much cheaper.
Well, yeah,
And it doesn't, you know, it will take maybe 5 hours, it's not 24 hours.
while you do your grocery shopping. And that's why there are 6
Right.
Tesla charging stations at Hannaford.
But, you know, the Tesla one's fast.
How fast are they?
They'll do it under an hour.
Oh, well,
I
that's
refuse to
good.
use Tesla anything.
I know. We're supposed to die
We
fast.
need to,
Elon.
our solar
The
system,
muskrat.
our home solar system is, you know, hooked into Tesla.
You have a Tesla, you have a Tesla wall,
No,
battery wall.
no, we don't. We just suffer. If there's an outage.
Huh.
We're thinking of getting a generator.
Well, I'm bothered by the, you know, talking about that, which is obviously linked to conservation and the environment.
Yeah.
You know, I've talked to, what's the big company that does all the install everywhere?
revision.
Revision. They only work with Tesla, and I said, as long as you're
So does Sundo.
doing Tesla, I'm not gonna do it. You know, you need to offer a couple of batteries that are not Tesla.
Yeah.
And, so we'll see.
I don't think anything touches the technology
That's what I was
of the
told.
Tesla balls.
That's what I was.
Well, but there are other, you know,
They just
again,
have-
it's the usual not invented here, you know, can be good, but you have many other options in Europe that
Oh,
work
sure.
very well. And, you know,
But we don't, if we didn't do it,
yeah, that's
we
exactly.
don't get.
All right, I'm trying not to make this the longest meeting.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
running, yeah, we're already past our usual.
I know, okay. We haven't been asked yet, but in other years, we would have been or to start submitting our budget proposal, so one thing I want to say to the select board is, as I've said, there should be somehow, the forest preserve should actually be in the budget. That is awkward when we don't have dollar amounts for a lot of, you know, we know what the tasks are for a lot of them, but we don't necessarily know what's gonna cost. They're also gonna ask us soon, are we planning to make any grant applications this year? And I think we are, we certainly are for the forester. I don't know if there's grants available to help with the cost of an appraisal or that kind of thing.
Well, that's a question we can ask the contact there, you might know.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Good point.
This Zoom meeting with.
Right, we can, so we can have our list of things we need to do to get the LMF money and costs where we know them and try and track down an estimate of cost where we don't. I mean, for some things like the environmental hazard assessment.
I don't
we do
think
know.
there are grants for those two tasks. I mean, the last time we did a progress report, you know, we had mentioned the quotes we had received for those tasks and, you know, my guess is they are helpful people at LMF, and if there was a way of getting a grant to cover those costs, I think they would have told us then. But again, we have nothing to lose by asking.
Right, but we can also ask for donations for
Yeah,
those costs. And a lot of them, well,
but you see,
They're not gonna be
in
killers.
there, you know, thinking I feel funny about asking for more donations when you have not spent what you've collected already. So, you know, the six.
well, no, but we'll have a sense of, we've only collected 6,000.
Hmm.
And we're gonna need more.
Mhm.
I don't feel that we have to blow all the 6,000 before we can ask for any more. Cause we know we'll need to spend it. We know. Just on the
But
surveyor
we
for
need,
the
you
easement,
know,
we'll be spending
when we
some.
do that, we need to give an accounting, you know, like, and also show that we spend, you know, something, but that was paid by a grant already, so it's not like we're not trying, you know. And that we collected this and this money is already encumbered to pay for those tasks.
Would you like to do a rough draft?
Sure.
Great.
How much we need.
Would you like someone to help you?
Sure.
I mean, or to,
Okay,
yeah,
great.
I like budgeting and,
Collaborate.
Oh,
yeah.
oh, wonderful.
yeah. I was actually gonna ask a question, and that was, because I'm new, I'm a little confused about, do you have money from the, you're trying to raise this money from LMF to get the purchase price. So then you have expenses, so then there's money from the town, but then there's 6,000 that's been raised in addition. But then we're worrying about 150, 200, 300. I confess, it would be wonderful
So,
to have a better,
big
maybe
picture.
if it's possible to get a kind of an overview.
Yes.
Simple overview
Well, I
of
think that's
the
certainly what
budget, et cetera.
Catherine's
And it would
wanting
seem
and.
so
and
useful for the
yeah.
planning,
Yeah, I agree,
Oh,
I'd like
great.
to see that too.
Absolutely.
And there was also a
And we
mention of
made it
$20,000.
What?
The town gave us, said they,
No, they put in the reserve 20,000 because I met with them as I was working on the application and I told them, if you don't have any skin in this game at all, you're not going to be taken seriously by the grant issuing agency. And and I don't propose to work my tail off with the application, which is, it's this thick and
I
it's,
can imagine.
you know?
Yeah.
If we're wasting our time. So they said, well, we will put $20,000 in a reserve and we hope we don't ever have to spend it. Because this is South Thomaston.
They've given us money, but they're like, no, get your fingers out of the cookie jar.
Exactly, it's in a reserve fund, it's sort of, it's the rainy day fund, if all else fails, but first we want you to try to raise it without the town itself
Yeah.
having to spend a penny. The only money the town has actually spent, and it's just sort of quietly disappears in line items they have anyway, is for the lawyers on the purchases, and then, the lawyer, they haven't, well, she hasn't billed us yet, but they haven't said anything about, we want you to pay for the lawyer who's doing the work to get the title insurance, et cetera. And, this last round of surveying, they haven't said anything. And it may just quietly come out of the town, you know,
Well,
whatever.
I would actually advocate for it to come out of the town budget and not
Oh,
our
absolutely,
account.
but I'm not gonna advocate until somebody even brings
Yes.
it up, because
But
it may just
that's my
quietly happen.
point. If, somebody asks us to pay for that bill, I refuse because the surveying being done is
Is
the
on-
front part of the town plot, which has, in itself, it's not just for the easement, it includes other work for the town properties,
Yeah.
not related to the preserve. So this is a legitimate town expense and not conservation expense.
Right. So they've not said a word about where, we want you to pay, so I'm not gonna be the first one to raise it.
I think we're cool.
Right. This meeting is being recorded, of course. But anyway, right, okay,
Are
and,
you
all right.
sure it was being recorded?
You just did.
Yes, because Hannah did it, so we know it worked. Okay, so.
Sorry, one last question, and
Yeah.
I do apologize, I had to step out, but, can we go to this lovely thing at Owl's Head? I kind of wanted with the children. I mean,
That's what I
can
wanted to
ask.
know.
I want to go, I mean, I see it.
There's
I
a,
would
there's a
love to go.
limit to how many fit in these inflatable planetariums. But
Pretty
if
big
we
one.
fit,
It's gonna be the big one, though. Yeah.
yeah,
Anyway, just I think it would be, would they like, if they would like us to go, I would certainly love
Well,
to
the whole
know what
committee.
day it is and go over. I have
yeah,
little kids I know in school. So.
well,
You know the
we can
day?
certainly
I
ask.
think it might be February 26th. Is that possible?
Okay.
Don't quote
I
me
have
on
to
that.
look, but it was in the messages. Yeah,
That would be great to know. Thank you.
February something.
Don't.
Okay.
Sorry, I have one more question on something like
Sure.
that, because it will come back to the parents, which is ultimately useful, I think. So will there be any messaging that the South Thomaston Conservation Commission has contributed to make this
Oh,
event
yeah.
possible at the school? Will there be some branding for the commission
Oh,
at that event so that the kids take something home to title their parents and it's this cool thing, and right there is some branded that the commission contributed.
that's a very good PR
That's a good
move.
thing to say, we might be asked to help write it. But yeah,
That's okay. I'm
So-
happy, I'd be happy to contribute to something like that.
so, no, yeah. So, and also, can we attend? And,
They might put us to work.
to take, yes, some written recognition.
Cause I would guess they're gonna have flyers for something like, won't there be something they send home?
It seems like they'd send something home with the kids
I think so.
at some point.
So we
Right,
wanna advocate early to having our names on it. I mean, the name of the commission.
yeah.
Assuming we give them some money.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, we're giving them at least $100, but that sounds pretty pitiful. But I will ask Terry before I ask the select board, because she may say, just do it. And that's then what I'll do.
And is the $6,000 that you have raised, is it for is it to, be applied toward the cost of securing the
It's
LF
to
grant,
be-
or it's just general?
It's to be applied, yeah, to anything we need to do to get the grant. What happened was when we were doubtful that we'd get the grant, not with. I was not involved, we were not involved, but the select board just sent out a letter asking for money to help defray the cost of buying the land. And so all the money that initially came in was earmarked for that. Then when it was pretty clear we were gonna get the grant, they sent another letter saying, would it be okay to repurpose your donation to cover any cost needed? I forget exactly how it was worded, but it was either to qualify for the funding and that we will have other expenses just to get to the finish line. And all of them replied, that's fine. So. So we're gonna be asked three things pretty soon. What is your budget request? Let's have your annual report, which I believe has to be final and in their hands by the end of February. Or a meeting that occurs in, it's not even the end of the fiscal year until the end of June. So we've been doing this enough years now that I view the year we're reporting on to go from February to February anyway. But we'll have to do that, which I can probably pull together for input from you guys. And we're gonna be asked, are we gonna be seeking any grants this year? And the answer is almost assuredly yes, we will be
Yes.
seeking at least a grant,
But
a matching grant for the
Yeah.
forester.
I think the intent of that question is to make sure several committees don't go after the same funding source.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we are not competing with anybody for that, so.
Right, but they're gonna ask,
Yeah.
that's what we're, and if they're.
I mean, we are planning on it, we are,
But they wanna know what grants, and so are you gonna be seeking? Do you think we'll need to be seeking any other grants?
What's up?
We're gonna be seeking a grant for the forester, are we gonna be applying for any other
Not
grants?
that I know of, no.
Okay.
The canopies or anyone.
Okay. Okay. End of agenda. Any further comments?
No,
People would like to go home,
yeah, I'm hungry.
right?
Where did the snow come from?
Well,
It's
just
not,
1 second, without objection, the meeting is adjourned.
I do like
Without
it.
anything.
Can you
And we need to push the
stop
button.
recording?
Can we
I'm not
find-
sure which button.
All right, let's find out.
Oh, I'm so sorry, I had to dash out, my mother broke her leg today.
Oh,
no.
She's 94, some of you know her.
Oh.
So I've been in the whole day in the ER, you know what that's like.
Oh, my gosh.
She really went to school.
I beg your pardon? She's been living with Steve for 3 months. She moved back to, while they renovated and made a
Okay.
more
you wanna stop
accessible
the
back
recording?
in her house. Moved her back on Friday. Second night she was here, in there. Oh, don't get me into the details.
Where did she break, what?
She broke the femur right up right around where
Where,
the fracture right at the,
so.
where she has a hip replacement.
No,
So,
that's.
so that's getting away because it looks like the hip replacement, that prosthesis stabilized. It's right where she had her fracture. So anyway, it's not, it could be worse.
It could
be worse,
it
but
could
you know,
be-
it says
It
multiple.
could be much worse.
Are you?
Yeah, yeah. So I think it's not bad. It's,
I was thinking of, when you said she was only staying with Stephen, I was thinking of
So are
calling
you
you
sure?
or Stephen and asking if you thought dear to go visit her, and
You will.
then you tell me last night that she's back in Owl's Head, and
Well, and as of tonight, she's now at Penday, and she'll probably be at Breakwater Commons for a couple weeks.
oh, well, I'll see her up there then, because that's where my 101-year-old aunt is. They would, something after, this is kind of busy